Hi, we're Rick and Cheryl Kerber, and this is our story on how we ended up coming to Palm Canyon Church and becoming members. For the first 60 years of my life, I was not a religious person. I believed that there was a God. I did not know if he was a thinking God or just a force. I did not know if Jesus was a real man or if he was just made up by churches. Then in July of 2009, we lost our son David in a boating collision on Lake Havasu. He was 23 years old. A few months later, I felt that I needed to know if there was an afterlife. I was driving home and thought to myself, I'll ask the question, I'll ask for a specific answer, something not likely to happen but not impossible. I felt that if I asked it using animals, that if there was an afterlife, it would be easy to will an animal to do something. So I asked that, and I asked for a specific place and time for it to happen, and it did happen. Over the next 4 years, Cheryl and I got many signs from David. A lot of them Cheryl got personally during times when she was having difficulty with dealing with his death. Many times when we were going to go by a location, such as where he died on Lake Havasu, and Cheryl not knowing that we were coming up on that location, she would feel his presence. She would feel his heaviness upon her. She would have difficulty breathing. She would start getting really hot, and she would ask the question, are we getting close? I'm having almost a panic attack, but it wasn't. It was definitely his presence, and sure enough, we were within 100 yards of where we were going. I had not slowed the boat down. She had no indication of where we were on the lake. She's not real good at geographical locations.
Excuse me?
Love you. So, then in October 2013, I was driving through Ritchie Canyon and a thought came to me. I don't know why, but the thought was, ask if we should be going to church. And again, I thought...
Which is really strange because these kind of thoughts don't come into his head.
Thank you. So, I was on my way to my cabin in Lake Arrowhead. I asked for something not impossible, but not very likely to happen. And again, I figured, use animals. In 2011, we had bought a cabin in Lake Arrowhead. Right after, there had been a disease up there, and most of the squirrels had died. So in the 2 years that we owned that cabin, we had only seen probably 3 squirrels. So if we were supposed to be going to church, I asked out loud for a squirrel to be on our property at the cabin, which I was on my way to, and for the squirrel to acknowledge me, to have eye contact and not run away. Upon my arrival at the cabin, I can see over half of our lot from where I parked the car. I did not see a squirrel. That was okay with me because I really didn't want to go to church. So I went inside to do what I went up there to do, and while inside, within a couple minutes, I heard a very loud squawking noise coming from the rear of the cabin, an area I had not observed yet. The squawking went on for several minutes. I thought it was a bird, louder than I've ever heard, but after a few minutes, I went out on the balcony to see what it was. I looked in the trees, didn't see anything. I looked down on our fence post, and there sat the squirrel. He was facing me, we had eye contact, and he was the one squawking. Very loud. I have never heard anything like this come from a squirrel. This went on for about 5 to 7 minutes. We're just sitting there with eye contact, him squawking. Finally, I said, okay, I get it, we'll go to church. Shortly after that, I went back in the cabin to do what I had come to do. The squawking continued. The squawking went on for a couple of minutes, and then the squirrel started jumping from tree to tree, still squawking. He seemed very happy. He eventually stopped squawking, jumped to the ground, and scurried off out of sight. I finished what I was doing and started heading home. All on the way home, I called Cheryl and told her I had had a sign and that we were going to start attending church.
I said, oh my God, what is wrong with you?
So when David was in Palm Middle School, by his own choice and walking over here, he started attending Palm Canyon Church. And so Cheryl and I decided that's where we should start because that's the church David had picked. We came with an open mind and we were very impressed with the band. We were impressed with the friendliness of the people, and we were impressed that Pastor Bill is such a dynamic speaker. He kept me awake during church. We came to church, me in my mind knowing that if it wasn't a fit for me, it would be short term. On the third visit, we completed the connection card and the rest is history. We joined a life group and we now have more good friends in Moreno Valley than we've ever had in the 26 years we've lived here. I now believe in God and I know that Jesus was a real man and I know that the Bible is actually a history book.
I was very spiritual, but I wasn't very religious. And when we started coming to this church, things started happening to me that I felt it was the work of the Lord, and I felt it was the time for us to give our lives to the Lord, and that's when Rick and I were baptized in the summer. David has given us signs that we are doing the right thing. Good things have happened in our life since we've started coming to this church. My daughter's life is on track and she's doing much better, and that was one of my biggest prayers. And a lot of little things have happened that are good for us that have happened since we started coming to this church. I've made wonderful friends. I have a beautiful friend with Cindy and with Bill and her family. And another wonderful thing that happened is Rick and I got to light the Christ Advent candle on Christmas Eve. I became very interested in Advent and I made my own Advent wreath. And now I have people who want me to make them for them also for next year. Before we lit the Advent candle, I had asked some people on my block, some neighbors, if they would like to come to church with us Christmas Eve.
And our family.
And our family. We did not tell anybody that we were going to be lighting the Christ Advent candle. 16 people from our block showed up. My daughter and all her children showed up, and everybody got to see Rick and I light the Christ Advent candle that night. Upon leaving the church that night, my neighbors were in tears. They were so proud of us because we had come so far. They've known us for 27 years and they know that we were not religious. And when they saw how far we have come, it brought tears to their eyes and they were very proud of us.
Apparently, they don't think we're going to hell anymore. We are both retired and planning to move to Lake Havasu. Being a member of this church and having all our friends now is making that decision real difficult for us.
Like my husband says, it's making it very hard for us to move.
It's our new family.
This is our new family.